We're joined in the studio today by Dave Hatter. Dave is the CEO President of Libertas Technologies. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you.
Dave, let's talk about Libertas Technologies because I know we're going to have some interesting conversation today about reputation management. So how does you're an award-winning consulting firm focused on custom software development. How does that have anything to do with reputation management?
Well, that's an excellent question. Basically, the nexus there is we build software applications that help companies save and or make money, most of which are web-oriented, many of which are public internet-oriented. Blogs, that sort of thing, are often built into the tools that we deliver as solutions to clients. So consequently, you have the opportunity to put a lot of content out there, and once something makes its way to the internet, there's always the potential for unintended consequences. So, and a lot of what I've learned about this is just from unintended consequences that may have happened to me that I could never have anticipated.
Like what?
Well, for example, this was many years ago. My first job out of college was at Cincinnati Millicron. And at the time, I was trying to convince them that we needed a particular technology, Lotus Notes, to be specific. And I had a hard time convincing them because of the cost and that no one could really seem to grasp it. And I guess I didn't do a good job of explaining what I thought the value proposition was. So magazine shows up. I read an article. It's about Lotus Notes and that companies don't really seem to grasp the value proposition. And it seems very expensive and consequently they don't use it. So I read this article. I'm like, by God, this guy has written an article that is exactly the problem I'm having here. So I decided it would be wise to send him an email. Now, we had just gotten internet email at the time. This is around 95. And he had his email address at the bottom of this article. So I sent him, directed to him, addressed to him, and a response to his article. And I essentially was talking about his points. Hit send, I don't think another thing of it. 2 weeks later, I go down to my mailbox and I get the magazine and I take it back to my desk. It was PC Week then, it's E-Week now. Flipping through the pages, I get to the editorial section. You can probably anticipate where this is going. I'm reading the editorial and I'm like, this is like a deja vu. How could this be? Someone has written what I was thinking. And then I see at the bottom, Dave Hatter, Systems Analyst, Cincinnati Millicron. Now, the wave of panic that swept over me was because, first off, I did not anticipate this happening.
Sure.
And secondarily, when you read my comments without the context of the article, it pretty much said flat out, the senior management at Millicron is stupid and cheap. There's really not too many other ways that you could read this thing when you don't have the article. So,
not what you would want to see in print or your bosses to see in print.
No,
certainly.
I literally almost dropped dead of a heart attack on the spot.
So did you survive that?
Did you just try to go get all the magazines out of everybody's mailbox?
We must have a lot in common because that is exactly what I did. After about another 15 seconds, I thought, okay, the only hope is to find and destroy every copy of PC Week in this organization, and that is exactly what I did. Ironically, I had resigned the day before this showed up, just purely coincidental, and eventually nothing ever came of it, but I learned a very valuable lesson that day about something that could have had really negative consequences.
So let's talk about that. What is rule number one when it comes to reputation management?
Well, in layman's terms, when I'm talking to non-technical people, I like to say, don't do anything stupid. Now, what does that mean? Well, depending on who you are, who your audience is, and what potential repercussions could arise, it's really stop and think, maybe count to 10, count to 100, walk away before you post anything that could be controversial in any way. Because there's no way to predict how that can be used once you hit the send button.
Oh, and I think we all have had that just gut-wrenching feeling when you hit send and you think, oh my goodness, what have I just done? We're talking to Dave Hatter, and Dave is the president and CEO of Libertas Technologies. It is an award-winning consulting firm focused on custom software development and business processes. We're going to continue our conversation with Dave in a few minutes, and we're going to be talking about what you can do to improve your reputation online.
We are continuing our conversation with Dave Hatter. Dave is the president and owner of Libertas Technologies, and we've been talking about reputation management. And Dave, I guess one question I have is, how do you know what your internet or online reputation is? How do you track that?
That is an excellent question, and there's not any one specific way you can do it because of the incredible reach of the internet and its services like instant messaging and social media and email and so forth. Unfortunately, it takes sort of a multi-pronged, multifaceted attack, and you really have to be fairly internet savvy to even understand, A, why this is a problem for you, and B, how to try to address it. The simplest thing, and I encourage anyone who has any concerns whatsoever about their reputation, period, to periodically Google themselves. Google still drives well over 80% of all search engine traffic. You should at least periodically, especially if you're looking to maybe land a big client or look for a job or something, you should go out, type your name and all its variants in Google, and just see what you can find out about yourself. That is a big, simple step in the right direction because, if you're showing up in media like the Business Courier or whatever, you're going to end up in Google. If you use social media platforms like LinkedIn, and I'm a huge fan of that myself, or Facebook, there's public information about you that unless you explicitly turn off will show up on Google. Many people don't realize this until they Google themselves. So that's a starting point.
What if you go and you put your name in Google and you find something that you don't think is very flattering? What do you do?
Well, that's even trickier. Now you've got a situation on your hands, and there's also the unfortunate circumstance where you may have a name that's similar to someone else. I happen to have a cousin who has essentially the exact same name as me. Not that he's done anything wrong, but stuff could show up about him that people may intuit as me, and it really isn't me. So, and that's part of this process, being able to know, because some of this, as I mentioned before, once you hit send, it's out there. There's no way to recall something. There's no way to delete something, potentially. It literally could last forever.
Well, when do you think that's going to change? I've always wondered why somebody hasn't come up with something that would allow you to recall a sent item after a certain period of time.
It's not going to be technologically possible anytime in the near future. And even if it were, here's the problem with that, okay? Let's say that you go out and we're connected on LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, and you post something that I can see. And 20 seconds later, you decide that I don't want that to be there anymore, so you hit delete. And let's assume that it's gone out of Facebook. Even they couldn't get it back. There's no way you can know if I printed that out in those 20 seconds, if I pressed the print screen button and captured a screenshot of it. There's no way you can stop me from mailing it to WCPO, WNKU, anywhere I want. I have captured that information. I may sit on that for 10 years and decide somewhere down the road.
Remind me never to email anything to you.
You'll be fine with me, but most non-technical people don't really understand the repercussions of this sort of thing, and that's why I think this is such an important topic. So if you find something negative out there, the first thing you got to do is figure out, is it about me or not? Part of this process is knowing what's there and then trying to figure out how to get up the curve on it. What would my next step be? If it's not about you, then you could go to someone and say, this isn't me. And you're going to have less ability to get rid of it if it's not about you, but at least you can address that.
Well, let's talk about the positives. How do you get the good stuff on there? So I'm looking at this bio that I've got about you and your company, and you have won just about every award, I think, that has been given out in the city.
We try real hard.
So how do you get that information? How do you take advantage of that stuff?
Well, that's the flip side of it is what you have to work at it. Part of it is, any media you can get, like if you go Google me, you'll find where there have been stories about us in various local media and so forth. That's part of it. Part of it is using social media tools like LinkedIn and Facebook to help build your reputation, help build a brand of you as a professional and your organization. And it's surprisingly easy when you see how powerful these tools are. It's quite easy, but it's got to be finessed.
Dave, thanks. We've run out of time today, but this topic is so important. I'm hoping that you can come back tomorrow and we can continue our conversation about reputation management and what people and businesses can do to maximize their professional reputation.
It'd be my pleasure. I look forward to it. Thanks.
We're delighted to have in the studio with us again today Dave Hatter. Dave is the president and CEO of Libertas Technologies, which is an award-winning consulting firm. And Dave, we didn't talk about this yesterday, but tell us about your company.
Well, Krista, what we do basically is work with other businesses. We're a B2B company. We work with businesses to help understand, hopefully re-engineer and improve their business processes, and then apply technology in a way that automates those processes, ultimately with the goal of helping them save or make money. That's really the bottom line.
Right. So basically the whole goal is to help them save or make money, and this technology and this process is just one way to help them accomplish that goal.
Exactly. I mean, why would you spend money on something that doesn't provide value,
Exactly.
doesn't have a payback, doesn't generate ROI? So we're really trying to understand their business processes and look for ways to automate them, improve them, make them more efficient, more effective, and ultimately save or make money.
Right. And, we talked a lot yesterday about this concept called reputation management and how you want to be perceived using technology such as the internet. You mentioned Facebook, LinkedIn. That's a real dilemma for someone like me. I'm a CPA firm owner. We have a website. We try to keep it moving with new articles and things, on a pretty regular basis, but still I don't think we probably use it to the fullest extent. I've always been confused about Facebook and LinkedIn and how much time do you spend. Is it really worth all the time, or what you should put out there? What's your thoughts on, as a professional, how to use those two social media, and maybe Twitter? I've never done the Twitter thing, but that's another one that's very, very popular.